Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP We Know Scripted TV. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we are here today for the podcast where we talk about everything from the feeds. It's the Roundtable podcast for Big Brother 27, where we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game. We talk about everything going on the live feeds and everything in between as well, if there's anything in between live feeds that's happening. With me to talk about everything that is going on in this house, it's, of course, Melissa Deni. How are you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be back talking about live feeds. It was so exciting to have the live feeds on again. It's just been so long. So I had a lot of fun, and these house guests certainly did not make it boring. So yeah, it was a great night.
Yes. There's also a chance. Did I say We Know Scripted TV? I'm quite used to saying that.
I literally didn't even clock what you said.
the RHAP account in the chat said, we know reality and scripted TV. So I might have said reality. I might have said scripted. But either way, I am I'm in the middle of a 24-hour live stream. So I'm quite out of it and tired. I apologize for any incorrect pieces of speech. But
wow.
Also with me today, somebody who joined me for a bit on the stream today was Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing good, Taran. You already know, not a lot of sleep, but a whole lot of fun. It's been very fun to have these last 24 hours, and it's only the beginning. And for today, it's the beginning of the Stockwatch too. So it's a good time. It's a good time. Thank you for having me.
Yes. We weren't even sure if we were going to do a Stockwatch this early, considering the fact that the feeds will have been up for less than 24 hours when we do this podcast, or when we were planning to do this podcast. And that I would have just done a live feed update just a few hours earlier. And all of those things are true, but I think it was a good thing we decided to go through with it anyway, because there's plenty to talk about with this wild house and situation. There's already some things to update on from this morning. So we will talk about those things. We will also, of course, be rating the players based on how well we think they're doing. I also had the audience submit ratings for the players as well to get their thoughts on how well these people are doing, as well as some other survey questions that we can talk about. So we'll have some fun here on the Roundtable. If you're new here, if this is your first Roundtable podcast, we talk about the week as a whole, with an extreme emphasis on the feeds. It's very different than an episode recap where we're talking about the episode and then we talk a bit about the feeds. It's a purely feeds-based discussion that incorporates everything that we've seen throughout the week, and also, as we mentioned before, really gets into the nitty-gritty of individual strategy for each player. So let's jump into it. Let's talk about it, because I think that one of the first things to do, of course, is to give a basic explanation of where the house structure is. I would highly recommend checking out the live feed update from this morning if you want like the full-on report with the pictures on the screen and the like where all the alliances are. But here we're going to give you the summary, which is that there is one main alliance, one main power alliance called the Heavy Hitters. And that alliance consists of Rachel Rylie, Jimmy, Zach, Vince, Morgan, and Rylie. Not to be confused with Rachel Rylie, but Rylie the bull rider. Bull rider? Bull fighter? Bull rider. He's a bull rider, right? He rides the bulls, not fights the bulls?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so.
And so this alliance is technically running things, but do not expect that to last, because there's a lot going on, especially with the conflicting interests they have with the nominations, the current nominations, and all of that. Before we get any deeper, though, that is the sort of like very general outline. Melissa, you've been keeping track of things. What have been your thoughts so far on what you've seen on the live feeds?
Well, it's been It's a lot. I feel like it's a lot. And I don't quite feel like I have a sense of what's real. Because I feel like there's just a lot of conversations and a lot of people saying a lot to everybody. It does appear that Keanu is kind of like doing a bit too much. That's what I'm getting the vibe of. It's like he's a little too much. He's a little too like gamey all the time. And I think it seems like he's going to be an easy target coming up. That's what I'm getting from the house. And now it's possible that like, he's going to win HOH next week and then everything will change, or, someone who he's aligned with will win HOH or whatever. But it just feels like he's doing too much too soon. And that usually is not good for them. Vince is not doing a great job as HOH. The fact that he put Kelley up is, shocking. It's a lot of gameplay. I don't know if it's good gameplay. I think at this point, the people who are kind of like hanging back and just kind of listening or having small conversations or like get to know you conversations are doing really well. I think like Katherine, is she going by Katherine? I thought I heard Kat at one point, but Katherine, I feel like is doing a really good job. As far as I can tell it, and Lauren, I think the two of them honestly are doing great. They're kind of hanging in the background, not really part of a lot of the big conversations, but it seems like they really know what they're doing. I hope I'm right on this. I hope I'm not proven wrong, but it really does feel like they kind of like have a good vibe. And Rachel's doing a great job with her social game. I feel like that was my biggest concern with her, was that she was just going to be Rachel 1.0 from her first season, which like didn't really click with most people aside from Brendan. And I feel like she's clicking with everybody. It seems like she's really trying to put herself out there and have these like real conversations with people. I always see her having these one-on-ones where they're not talking game necessarily. Like sometimes they do, but a lot of the times they're kind of just getting to know each other, and she's really listening and she's like actively asking questions. And it just seems, everyone's saying my mic sounds like it's turned off or something. I'll fix it. I'll let you guys talk. I don't know. I don't want to just keep babbling if like no one can hear me.
I can hear you fine. I don't know. You can look into it because I have seen some people in the chat mention the microphone.
I fixed it. I think it was on the wrong mic.
Okay, there you go.
Anyway, that was my thoughts anyway.
Those were the thoughts. There's a lot happening, and I feel like we noticed this a lot in the early days, where like the people we don't see as much of are the people we're almost the most hopeful for because they haven't yet disappointed us. And I feel like that's where I am with a lot of players in the house right now, because a lot of players in the house have been very messy. Of course, we'll be talking a lot about Vince and his HOH reign, but Pooya, what have been your overall thoughts so far on the feeds?
It's very interesting because typically by the time I get to talk to one of you in some formal capacity on a podcast, not counting a live feed update, we have a good tempo. We can like, you feel the pulse of the house. You know kind of where everyone is at. I feel like messy is truly the most operative word we can put out there. But I also think there's people who I think have been playing well, but then I'll hear comments about them that'll make me doubt if they're playing well. So it's a little bit tough to gauge still. But one thing is for certain, it's been absolutely entertaining. Like I've not been able to put anything I've had to put everything down to focus on. I mentioned to you earlier, Taran, I'm usually a 2 or 3 monitor activities at a time guy. I've been a 1 monitor guy for the last day, and it's been amazing. So
yeah, the 24-hour stream that I started when the feed started, I expected there to be a lot of downtime. That's usually what happens, especially in the first night of feeds. Granted, this is actually night 6 that we started on
technically,
but it's been nonstop. I mean, I've just been like streaming and commenting on the feeds basically nonstop, except for when the feeds went down for the veto, because they don't stop talking, and there's been a lot to comment on. In particular, the HOH Vince. He did nominate, as you saw in the episode, very likely, or maybe you didn't, but he did nominate Ashley, seemingly, at least based on the episode, due to her time in the shower. And he also nominated Amy along with Zay. We have discovered that Ashley was, in fact, the target of Vince and of his alliance, at least many of them. However, Ashley went on to win the power of veto. And that means that she, of course, was planning to take herself off the block, which meant that Vince was going to have to nominate a replacement nominee. And Vince, we have discovered, does not enjoy Big Brother or anything involving Big Brother, including making any kind of decisions. And he has waffled around all night long, going back and forth, crying over the decision, and ultimately kept coming to the conclusion that he would need to nominate his ally, Kelley, because he had no other option except for the other, 12 options. But other than those options, he had no other options. And so he's crying about it. He's trying to justify it. He's initially accepting the fact that when he's initially made this decision, the entire house is letting him know, like, yeah, Kelley's leaving if you put her up on the block. Just, she's getting voted out. And he's like, yeah, I know. And it sucks. He is eventually convinced by Jimmy that that's a bad idea. Jimmy's convincing him that because Jimmy would like for Keanu to go on the block because Keanu and Jimmy have a bit of a beef. This is important later on. So Vince has been convinced it's a bad idea to send Kelley home. And so, of course, instead of nominating her, he chose to... Oh, sorry. He still is planning to nominate her, actually. Just doesn't actually want her to go home when he nominates her. So there was a bit of back and forth this morning as Keanu further went off the rails. Jimmy refused to hug him. He started accusing people of ratting him out to Jimmy, which is the only reason Jimmy would refuse to hug him. And then that caused Morgan to start crying. And then a bunch of other people were starting to get pissed off, like Rylie, about what Keanu was doing and saying. And this nearly flipped Vince back toward nominating Keanu again. However, it was Rachel and Morgan herself that came in at the last minute and said, do not do that. Put up Kelley. And so that's what happened at the veto ceremony today. Ashley took herself off the block and Kelley was her replacement. At the ceremony, Jimmy called out Keanu. They got into a fight. And then immediately afterwards, by the time the feeds came back on, they'd made up. And Keanu has now, according to what he's telling everybody in the house, including his allies, believes that Jimmy was never after him and that it was all a miscommunication. And now, he has nobody to target anymore.
Great.
Yeah, so much so that he doesn't even want to win HOH. He's like, I don't have anybody now, so I don't even care. I don't even care to win it. So... yeah, you know what I said earlier? The pulse of the game is hard to figure it out. This is what I meant, because legitimately in the last 12 hours, things have shifted all over the place. So it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's been fun. I will say one thing, though. I want to also highlight this extra on Vince, because yes, Vince feels like he has to put up his final two. However, at the same time, you have people who actively would like to vote her out, also telling him, you shouldn't do this. Also being like, just so you know, for your game, it's not good. If she's up there, I'm voting to get rid of her over, say, an Amy. But for your game, it's not good. And he's like, you know what? You're right. I should put her up. So
it just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand the logic for it. I mean, I guess it stems from like, I want to do what the house wants me to do. That's the starting place, is like, okay, it seems like the house isn't really vibing with Kelley. Like, an easy person to put up would be Kelley because, everyone else wants that. And if I don't, then like people will be pissed off. And so I'm just going to do it, even though I really like her. It's kind of like super early. And if I do what they want, maybe I can just be in an alliance with them and kind of get in with the rest of the house. But then you get it complicates it a bit, because then people are telling him, don't do that. So it's not like a house move. It's not like, oh, this will placate the house and I'll do this in order to just like get it off my desk. It's not like that at all, because they all are telling him don't do it. So now it doesn't make any sense. It's like, I think he's just like, well, I'm too far gone now. I have to just keep going with this. And he doesn't. He can turn around at any time, and yet he chooses to keep going.
He is very, very worried about people being mad at him. Has been like the main thing that he's been talking about, and it has been wild and exhausting, quite frankly, to listen to. Just today, after the ceremony, Kelley's on the block talking about, and she's all hyped up because we'll talk about Kelley. Vince starts crying again. You think, oh, because he feels guilty, right? Because he feels bad about putting Kelley on the block and putting her in this position, and he's crying, and then he explains, I'm just worried I'm going to look like an absolute idiot if you get voted out.
You already
I'm just going to look like such a fool.
Like the act was putting her up on the block, not like when she gets voted out. That ship has sailed. It's already happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, how many different ways do you need people to spell out? And you're lucky you're in a season where people are so willing to tell you honestly who they're looking to vote out, even if they're someone you like. They're like, I'm looking to vote out Kelley. So the numbers are already iffy. So to crown that is wild. Also, Rachel was one of the main two people, like you said, who said, do not put up Keanu. Don't make this mistake. Even though everybody else was like, yeah, Keanu's the right choice. And then afterwards, he's like negative about, Rachel. I bet everyone's like risking Rachel, blah, blah. I was like, okay, make up your mind. Man, when I picked this guy, I was like, he has a beanie. He's got facial hair and he's a fan of the show. Listen, he's the representation I will take here this season. Throwing it right back in my face, Taran.
Oh, no.
I don't want nothing to do with this. And it's only been a day. I'm so over it.
Rachel is now kind of his number one enemy because she is the defender of Amy on the block, and he really wants Amy to leave. He doesn't want Zay to go, and he really doesn't want Kelley to go. And so Amy is his primary target. And with Rachel being her primary defender, that puts them at odds. Kelley is also not a fan of Rachel. And so this is potentially going to lead to some kind of war for who has the numbers to evict the other. And as of right now, that is completely undecided. There is no consensus at all yet where these votes are going to go. Vince has, grabbed a couple of numbers. He has a couple of people willing to do willing to at least say they're willing to do what he wants. Zach in particular really wants to go in that direction. I mentioned this morning, that Zach is very anti-floater and sees Amy as a floater, and therefore has really been pushing hard for her to go. However, many of the women in the house would much prefer that Zay leave, though they feel they might not be able to get the votes for that. And certainly Rachel and anybody that she has influence over would love for Amy to stay. And so this is a recipe for maybe not disaster, but certainly conflict heading into the vote on Thursday. And there's tons of time for people to make plans for every iteration of how the block will play out. So that's pretty much the general overview of where we stand in the house right now. There's a lot to see in terms of where all of this goes, but I do want to talk through some of the survey answers from this Stockwatch survey. We have our first player rankings for your favorite player rankings of the season.
Melissa,
I assume Rachel's first.
Yeah, let's lock that one in.
Rachel is first. She's up there at the top. That is true. Who do we think is at the bottom?
Ooh, like 17th place.
Oh, that's tough. I would have said Rylie like preseason, but I actually think people are liking Rylie now that the feeds have happened. I think that people are liking his style of gameplay and like the way he's talking and stuff. But I don't think he's last.
I feel like at best that all of that goodwill bumps him to like 16th. Like I don't think he's going that much higher.
I don't think he's like number 2 or something.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's last. I feel like
this is tough because this will allow us to learn what people are thinking.
Right.
There are some couple of people that are playing poorly, but they're playing poorly differently. So it's like, don't like the he's everywhere Keanu, or like the randomness of a Kelley or Rylie. You know what? I kind of feel like I want to be boring and go Rylie here, Melissa. What do you want to split the vote here?
Yeah, because like, I think you're right. I think it's tough because it's like, yeah, sure, Keanu is playing hard and Kelley is kind of wild, but to me, and like same with Jimmy's kind of playing very hard, but to me that makes for like excitement. And so I don't like want them to leave, and I don't like hate them. Wouldn't put them last on my list because they're bringing something to the table. Maybe somebody who it could be somebody. See, I don't think it would be somebody who they don't really know very well. Like, for example, like Will or someone that you don't really see. Like, I don't think he would be last. I think he would just be like middling, maybe.
Yes. 100%.
But maybe people are frustrated with Vince because his HOH is annoying and
I didn't
like
factor
he's
that.
crying and sad and like he's just like wishy-washy, and I don't know, maybe, and people are being frustrated by the fact that he's just kind of not like making a good move, first of all, and also being wishy-washy about that bad move. I think maybe
Vince is third to last.
Oh,
okay.
Whoa. Okay. Maybe it is Rylie.
Rylie is last on the list.
He hasn't won the people over yet.
I think that not enough people have been watching the feeds for 24 hours straight. And this is why Vince is not last.
Yeah.
But look how much messes Rain has given us. Do we give him the credit for that?
I think the preconceived notions of like Rylie from preseason have not been overridden yet. There's not been enough time on the feeds. I think that they will be to some degree. I don't think he is exactly what people were expecting. But it's not like he's like a paragon of virtue or anything like that. Like, it's not like he's like the best guy ever.
Right.
I think he's just like fine.
Yeah, he's just been fine so far. And so I think it'll take just a little bit more time to overcome the initial impression that he gave in the preseason. There is one more person down at the bottom, but instead of revealing them right now, I want to go back up to the top. Who is in second place?
Also, that it's not just the preconceived stuff that we saw in the preseason. It's not the preseason. It was not his interview in the preseason or the fact that he's like a cowboy or whatever. That has nothing to do with like people's opinions being affected. It's like the accusations that were
that was also in the preseason
against him. No, I know, but I'm just trying to clarify, like, for people that are thinking that we just have like bad vibes about cowboys.
Oh no, that's just Aman. Aman has that feeling.
Yeah, maybe Aman. But we don't have
that's
with
Aman's
cowboys.
read on us.
It's not like, oh, he's Southern, so we don't like him.
It's
there are
the allegations
being made or that were made that affect
these are
the opinion.
Just to clear that up, as far as I'm aware, unconfirmed, but basically some posts like on Facebook of people sort of claiming to be people that have had his children.
Yes, there are people that
colloquially known as baby mamas
and
infant mothers,
and he has not participated in that life.
They are disgruntled
people, multiple disgruntled people,
disgruntled mothers of his children that are not fond of him.
Yes.
Also an allegedly maybe, but allegedly likely. Also, though, I want it on record that I still did not like his preseason interview either, and that's why I rate him low as well.
Well, I just think that the comment about it being like a PR, like just a PR statement the whole time of just like, I love everyone, like preemptive PR work.
Even in the house, I feel like, Melissa, you said they got that a little bit, right?
Yeah, I feel like that. That's why like I cannot get a read on him because I can't figure out like what's legit and what's not. Like I'm sorry, but I don't for a second believe that like it's just constant. I love everybody and I just want everyone to do well and I want everyone to win the game. And I'd be sad if somebody lost the game because I want everyone to win. Like that sort of stuff to me, like I don't believe that. So I want to see what he really is like. And I feel like we just need to wait it out and we'll see.
He can stay last until we change our opinions, I guess.
Exactly.
All right. Well, back up to the top of the list. Who is in second place behind Rachel Rylie?
Mickey.
Oh, I could see Mickey. I'm trying to think who else there is. Mickey probably. I mean,
Well, I'm trying to do what Taran said about the whole, like, some people may not have caught up with the feeds yet because why is Vince not last? By that same logic, there's still people that are going to have opinions from the episodes, preseason, and then feeds as like a trifecta of opinions.
good
I would
point.
say, yeah. So for me, it's Mickey or it's Morgan. It's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I feel like people who've watched the feeds maybe aren't as high on Morgan. Maybe.
So what's your guess?
I think Mickey makes sense.
Mickey is fourth.
Okay,
Oh,
we're off, Pooya.
Let's give ourselves some credit. From second to fourth, there's only like one gap, so we did okay. We could do better.
Actually,
but
we're really good. We're doing really well. Okay.
Is it? What do you think about Jimmy, Melissa? Do you think Jimmy could be up there?
I don't think so, because I think like people are happy that he's doing a lot, but I also feel like people are kind of like, okay, he thinks he's running this house and he's not. Maybe Katherine. I mean, I would put Katherine up high. I liked her conversations. I feel like she was smart about her conversations. I would put her up there, but I don't know.
I feel like I didn't see enough from Katherine to justify second. I do agree with you. What I've seen, I've liked, but enough to take second behind the Rachel Rylie feels interesting to me. But I'm willing to roll with it. So let's roll with it. We're going Katherine here.
Katherine is in eighth.
Okay, well, I don't know anybody anymore.
You're getting colder.
Great. Who could it be?
I mean, I think now fourth, I could see Morgan's probably like right one above or one below. So I don't think Morgan ends up being second there. Should we just roll with Jimmy? Is this the move?
It looks like the chat is saying Morgan. And if we're going by the chat,
we're trying to find their answer, right? So
yeah. So maybe Morgan?
Right, Morgan. Taran, run it.
All right. Audience says Morgan. The answer was Morgan.
All right. There we go. The audience said it and the audience picked it.
What's
so
up?
That makes sense.
All right. This has been fun. I'm enjoying this. Let's do one more, maybe two more. We'll go. Who is the other person down at the bottom? Who is second to last?
Oh, maybe Kelley? Because people are just like, why is she doing this?
I think more of the Kelley negative would have happened if this happened in like 4 hours from now. I could see that. I don't think she's the second last.
Maybe people are frustrated with Keanu because they're just kind of annoyed.
It could see the thing is, but he's messy. I feel like
I know that's the thing is like you would like that potentially. He's messy, and it doesn't seem like he's messy in like a mean way. It seems like he's messy, just messy.
Right. I think let's go Kelley. Let's go Kelley and see see where we go from there.
Let's do Kelley.
Kelley is correct. Kelley was second.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Great. All right. Okay.
That's surprising. I mean, she nominated to go up on the block, so makes sense. But
yeah.
Final quiz question: who was third place behind Morgan?
Lauren? Oh, Ashley? I saw a lot of people being like really happy that Ashley got the veto.
I think Ashley winning the veto is exactly what everyone wanted when the feeds were off. So we got that result. See, because Lauren, I've been on record to say I like what I see from her, but also she's been very quiet with the feeds opening so far still. I think we could go Ashley and see where that is. I think it's Ashley.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, Marcellus, but you should have chose Lauren.
Man.
Are you
Lauren?
serious? Wow. Okay.
No. We were so close.
That's on me, Melissa. That's on me because you wanted to go Lauren.
Hey, it's okay. I like Lauren. I mean, that makes sense to me. I feel like her and Katherine, from what I've seen, they both, are doing good work.
Remember,
by
also
sort of
Lauren had a
playing low.
strong episode last night. In the beginning of the episode, is one of the few logic speakers.
Yes,
in the
she was the best
accomplice line.
detective.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like, I've been impressed with them. I feel like the first week, you really don't want to be seen that much. I think, having conversations and things like that, that's always good. But I feel like if you're too far out there, that's always a bad sign. So I feel like I feel good about Lauren and Katherine's spot in the house.
All right, so here's the full list. It's Rachel, Morgan, Lauren, Mickey, Ava, Ashley, Jimmy, Katherine, Amy, Adrian, Will, Zay, Keanu, Zach, Vince, Kelley, Rylie.
Zach's a lot lower than I anticipated, and that's coming from me, who made the shock face when Melissa picked him that early. That's surprising.
I feel like people had been liking him on the feeds, but maybe, like Taran said, people just haven't been watching that much, and so they're going off of also just first impressions.
Well, I think coming in with bad first impressions, having a little bit of turnaround on feeds, but then also then a bit of a dip on feeds as well. So
oh my God, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
You told me this
It's
too.
kind of an up and down there for Zach, and he started low. So
wait, what's the down? Maybe I've missed it.
His whole moral crusade against floaters, and his definition of floater is Amy and oh my God, I'm forgetting her name from last season. Angela.
Oh, okay. Well, that's wrong. But yeah. Okay.
He to the point where he's like, I can't even look them in the face. They do nothing.
I always hate that when people are just like, oh, I'm the only real player in the house. It's like, no, everyone else is playing too. They're just playing different games.
He won one comp and spammed Fortnite emotes, and here he is talking about the morality of floaters.
That's that's like that the fact that they're calling themselves the heavy hitters because they're the only ones doing anything. It's like, come on, you don't know that yet. The game just started. Yeah, and also you guys shouldn't be doing so much. You're only 4 days in. Come on.
I asked the audience to rate the episodes this week, and the audience said that the episodes were a 7.3 out of 10 this week.
Okay.
I would give it higher.
Pretty decent, I would say.
7.3 is great, yeah.
Especially for a first week of episodes where the premiere is not usually very well received, I would say.
Oh,
yeah, and we've only had 2 episodes.
Yeah. So. Yeah, typically I always tell people if they're going to recommend the show to friends, don't show them episode 1. Start later, because episode 1 is a little bit of a shocker, but I thought both episodes were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, hence my series of showing people the premiere episodes of Big Brother as their introduction to the show. Last season 26, the episodes in the first week were given a 5.9 by the audience. So definitely up.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that's before we got the Matt of it all, right? Was that a part of it?
I'm honestly not sure. Yeah. I think we normally, the premiere was, you know what? That would have been the Wednesday episode, right? Because it would have been post nominations.
But then you wouldn't have run the roundtable until after the Matt would have happened on feeds.
Right.
And on the Sunday app.
It was on feeds, but not on the episodes yet.
Oh yeah, the chat's
they delayed
reminding
it?
me that we had to watch the Ainsley episode twice because they did the same thing. Yeah, that's
Well,
God, I forgot about that.
An explanation, and in response to that, perhaps the feeds were given an 8.7 last season, whereas this season a 7.5 so far. I mean, there's been less than 24 hours of feeds. To
true.
Be fair.
We don't know.
And last season did include Crazy Eyes. So.
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's true. Good point. I'll give it to them.
The season as a whole so far given a 7.4 compared to last season's 7.9 in the first week. But again, there is a slightly different timing on these ratings. Angela's HOH reign was rated a 4.9 out of 10. Vince's HOH reign was rated a 2.6 out of 10.
Is that true though? I feel like it's like, is that actually like, do we really think that Vince is in like such a bad spot after this week?
He
Even if Kelley
definitely
goes,
did worse than Angela. I mean, Angela actually managed to like nominate
She got out her number one target.
Like a big player that was against her.
I guess, yeah. Okay, good point. But I mean,
if Kelley leaves,
yeah, if Kelley leaves, I mean, I feel like it's like we don't know yet.
But that's the thing too, is that Angela did not nominate any of her allies.
Okay, yeah, good point. I'll take it.
She didn't even risk the idea of something like that happening.
Is there a chance that Vince like doesn't actually think that Kelley is a good ally to him? And he's
clearly he called her a gnat that he needed to cage.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, is that like maybe he just is totally oblivious to the idea that like she's actually an ally for him, and it's like actually she's kind of hindering my game. I like, if everyone's saying she needs to get out, like why would I stick my neck out for somebody that I don't really that I'm not like
the Ryan Ballantyne strategy.
I don't know. I mean, look, I don't think it's a good move. I'm saying that, but I'm just wondering if I'm trying to get in the perspective of his, like, of where he's coming from for this, because it's like, it just otherwise doesn't make any sense. Especially
he's telling you, I don't want people to be mad at me.
But then they're telling him that
Kelley
they don't
won't
care.
be mad at me. But Keanu would be mad at him.
Oh, you're saying that the person who gets nominated.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the other people in the house, like, wouldn't be mad because he
nominated.
That
too. Yeah. That's why he was somewhat open to potentially doing Keanu, is because he learned that nobody else would be mad. But he was still worried about Keanu himself being mad.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, look, I don't like making people mad either. I don't like it when people are mad at me. I hate that. But if you're in Big Brother, like, you're going to have to make people mad. Like, that's just what do you expect? Like, you're going to be HOH and everyone's just going to be like, okay, like, I'll be the nominee and everything's happy. Like, you're going to have to nominate people that don't want to be nominated, and you're just going to have to do it. Like, it reminds me of like the Vanessa stuff where it's like you have to have a reason. And then once you get that reason, you can like nominate people like scot-free. But just when she said to him, like, you can put me up, I won't be mad. It's like, okay, then I'll do it. And I don't know. It's just not good.
Yeah. I did ask, did Vince choose the correct replacement nominee?
No.
Weirdly, 7% of you said yes.
Who are these 7?
I believe those are Vince's friends and family.
Oh, God. Probably.
Who do you want to be evicted this week between Kelley, Zay, and Amy?
Come on.
50% said Kelley. 36% said Zay. 14% said Amy.
I think they should go, because when else are they going to get this sort of opportunity? And I think Kelley should stay because she makes people mad, and she like unknowingly like says the wrong thing all the time. And I think it's more entertaining.
If you're in a house where everyone's repetitively saying everyone loves Zay, but the other two have people who do not like them whatsoever, I'm sorry, the one who everyone loves should go, because those are two people that could just get thrown right back up on the block next week. And then guess what? There's one spot and there's like 11 of us they have to pick from. That's not a bet. Those odds are good for you not to end up on the block. So that makes the most sense. Granted, I feel like Kelley's done herself no favors by also then being like, I'm going to call out Rachel. It's like, okay, yeah, now everyone's like, you can go. It's okay.
I'm going to throw the blockbuster competition.
Oh my God.
I'm going to throw the blockbuster competition. All right, one more thing before we get into the ratings. I wanted to talk about, because obviously this has been like such a topic of conversation with Vince really kicking this conversation back up again. The issue of the first HOH.
Yes.
That a lot of people are like, man, last few years, first HOH has just completely flopped, from Frenchie to Daniel to Rylie to Angela. It's been such a disaster. And now Vince. Like, what is going on with the first HOH? Is it really a good thing to win the first HOH anymore, or is it a bad thing now? And to me, the answer is still fairly simple. Listen to those names again.
Mm-hmm.
Frenchie, Daniel, Angela, like now Vince. These are people who I don't think you would say the first HOH is the thing that screwed them over. Like, are these people that you think would have like won the game or done really well if not for being the first HOH? I don't think so. These were, players who were likely to perform poorly, who also won the first HOH. And then when you look at Rylie, obviously that was a situation where Cirie was in the game and her son was a secret mole in the alliance that Rylie created, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Not to say that Rylie played that HOH perfectly either. She was not a fan of the show and didn't really know how to handle the power, but was still like fine. And now Vince. And I would argue that the issue with Vince is not that he's the first HOH, but that he doesn't want to be the first HOH. He does not want to use this power. He is so concerned about pissing people off and making them mad at him by nominating them that he is doing everything in his power to burn the relationships he does have in order to preserve the ones that he doesn't. And so, that is the situation we're in. And what I will say is, despite all of that, what we are likely going to talk about when we rate him is whether this impacts his rating or not. He still has a bunch of people who are working with him because he's the first HOH and had the ability to pick and choose and have a bunch of people come and offer alliances to him. So even though he's making this colossal mistake and he's taking out probably the most loyal person to him in the game, if she ends up leaving, he is still like not being auto-targeted the following week. Whereas if this were, say, week 6 and he made this mistake, or like he was Mackenzie and he made this mistake, like this would be significantly more devastating. The fact that he's making this mistake as the first HOH, it gives him much more leeway to make the mistake and recover from it than almost any other time in the game because of the advantages it affords you. And so I will continue to pound this drum until it is destroyed. Go on to the show and recognize that winning the first HOH can be valuable if you are willing to actually A, use the power, and B, like, you're not Frenchie.
Well, especially because the first HOH is HOH for much longer than a week. Because they like move in and then they have extra days or whatever. And so
depending on the move-in schedule, yes.
You generally have like more time as like in power, which gives you more of an opportunity to meet with people and things like that. I mean, the one thing is that like it seems like Vince isn't really, I mean, he is a little bit, but he isn't really utilizing his HOH room to his advantage. And at one point it was like Jimmy was holding court in the HOH room like for a while. And it was like, the idea is that your HOH, you bring people up to your room to talk about you. It gives you like this private area to talk with people. And instead he was just like out in the backyard, which I get like, okay, be amongst the people and all that. But it's just like, you shouldn't let someone else utilize the HOH room as if they're HOH, because like at points when I was watching, I started thinking like, oh yeah, Jimmy's HOH. And then I was like, wait, no, Jimmy's not HOH, because he was just like in the room acting like he was HOH. So, I mean, that's useful for you and he's not utilizing it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things for me. One, based on his DRs, it was very clear that Vince wanted safety. He wanted safety. He didn't want to go home week 1. So he wins it. I think everything you're talking about him not wanting power is true. If Vince only knew that had he not won, there was an opportunity to be a have-not and take safety, I think this is his ideal scenario. He would have jumped for this, would have begged for this. I think the other thing is we are seeing, and not all of these HOHs that we've talked about in recent memory, but some of these early HOHs, the big fault is they make too many damn promises in the beginning. Right out the gate, Vince makes a very logical promise to the other 3 competitors, and they do to him, which is, there's only 4 of us competing. No matter who wins, let's just say we're all safe. That's good. right? That's good. You got safety now. That's 3 people you can't put up on the block. Good news is there's still 12 people. Now there's 4 people that are also safe because of the have not. Okay, 7 people. You still have 9 people you can pick from and you should be okay. There is no world you should be putting people up that you've made promises to, because once you do that, now you've scrambled yourself. Now I feel like he's petrified of doing more, breaking more promises and what he should do about it, the damage control and everything. I think he got in his own head also. He overcooked. And then I think that caused him to become way more passive than he should be on his week. I also, to your point, Taran, he still does have allies. You know, you and I talked earlier about how no one's actively saying they're coming for Vince. So it's not a horrendous spot, but it is an awful way to start a season. This is like if you are playing a game of Mario Party and everyone else starts with 10 coins, you get 40 coins and a star to kick off. You should be in a better position than everyone else, but somehow he's acting like he also has 10 coins, and now he's lost 5 of those coins also. So
yeah, and worth noting that at this point in Frenchie's HOH reign, nobody was talking about targeting him either, right? Like it's, it actually tends to happen fairly often. The first HOH is never mentioned as a target because they've never been available to be targeted. They've been the targeter. And so it doesn't even cross your mind that they can be targeted a lot of the time. And then once you find that they're sleeping downstairs and they're no longer untouchable, you start to go, oh, wait a minute. We could just target Vince. But we'll see about that. The other thing about making promises I think is very interesting is that like I think that an early promise is less valuable to you than a late promise. And what I mean by that is like if somebody comes up to you right after you win and says, hey, am I good? And you say, you're good 100%, don't worry about it. I think in theory, you go, oh, wow, that's amazing. That's the best case scenario. You're going to make that person feel so good and secure, and they're going to like be super appreciative. But the reality is, I think that a lot of the time when you get an easy, quick promise like that, you kind of just take it for granted. You're like, I'm good. Great. Whereas if you, and I'm not saying you should intentionally make people feel uncomfortable, but if you refrain from giving your word to too many people and giving out like, oh, you're definitely 100% safe. If you instead, are a little bit more aloof and you're like, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Like, am I good? Yeah, you're good. Let's talk later. Like keep them in a little bit of suspense so that you're not over promising. And then when you finally do let them know it's not going to be you, it's going to be this, whatever, they're gonna feel that relief a lot more than that quick little ping of like, me? No? Great. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk through there. But let's get into the player ratings because there's a lot of players to get to, and I think a lot of analysis can be done on an individual level here. This is, of course, the portion of the podcast. We are going to rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game. The criteria can be basically whatever you want. For me, it tends to be some mixture of their current level of safety, their long-term positioning, and like how I feel subjectively they have played this week. Do I agree with the moves that they made? Stuff like that. This is not supposed to be an objective rating. We are not beholden to be supremely consistent. If we give one person a rating and another person another rating, that does not mean that we think they're equivalent players or whatever the case may be. We're just kind of winging this. Don't take it too seriously, please. It's all part of a fun game. So let's jump in. Of course, 10 is the best, 1 is the worst. And here is the spreadsheets in dark mode.
Ooh, yay. I love it.
Spooky.
It's kind of a forced dark mode, so it's not looking amazing, but
I'll take it.
All right. So, of course, I'm going to give a rating. Melissa will give a rating. Pooya will give a rating. And the audience will give a rating for each player. The first of which, in somewhat alphabetical order, because I am using nicknames here as well, Adrian, which is, I think, an easy in to start here because we don't really know much about Adrian, I would say. I think he was actually just having a conversation in the Have Not room as we were talking that is hopefully some of the most sort of game he's talked with some players that aren't Vince so far. I think that if you came in expecting preseason interview Adrian, you've been pleasantly surprised that he is in fact more of like the awkward, pretty likable guy in the house, as opposed to the I'm the greatest player to ever step foot in this house kind of guy. That said, he's almost, I would say, a little too quiet and awkward at this point, not involved in too many of the alliances or power structures, was mentioned as a potential nominee at one point, but obviously was not eventually targeted. I think he's in a fine position right now, but there's not really, I think, a ton of reason to be super positive or super negative for Adrian. I want to reiterate also, we are making these ratings with less than 24 hours of feeds under our belt. And so these will be potentially wildly inaccurate and often, I would imagine, fairly neutral on players that we don't know much about. Adrian, for me, is one of those players. I would give him a 5.
Yeah, same here. We just don't know enough. I mean, so far it seems like people seem to like him, but it's hard to say. And the fact that he was considered as a nominee is like not great, but nothing to indicate that he's doing anything wrong at this point. So 5.
To me, he's honestly the quintessentially middle average player right now, where I think there's a world where you rate him higher simply because of the fact that we thought he was going to come in and play the game. Quite frankly, Keanu is playing. He's not doing that. He's been low key. He's been easy. No one's really talking about him. So for me, 5 is like, this is like the perfect middle to kick things off. So I think that, yeah, it's a neutral score for me.
All right. And you'll never guess it, but the audience also gave Adrian a 5.
Wow, a 5.
So that's 5s across the board. Easy entry into the Stockwatch ratings here. Just a quick neutral 5. Not much to even analyze for Adrian because we really have not seen much of him on the feeds so far. However, we have seen plenty of Amy, who is on the block post veto. And I would say at this point, a fairly likely target for the week. Her and Kelley, I believe, at this point are in the most amount of danger. And I could very easily see Amy going home this week. Melissa, what are your thoughts on Amy?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably give Amy like a 3. I mean, it's tough because, yes, she's on the block. And yes, I mean, according to the edit, we don't know exactly what happened, but it looks like she was put on the block because she cried and was very sad with Vince. And so I just feel like I don't know how she will do if that's the way that she's going to play, is just like very emotional and like sad and like, oh, well, put me up if I want to go home. There's no reason for me to be here if she's going to go home or whatever. That's not great. However, she does seem to have a really good ally in Rachel. Now that could be good or bad because Rachel could become a target and it could be like, we'll get Amy out because we don't want Rachel to have any power. I don't know. But Rachel really is, vouching for Amy and saying that she will vote to keep Amy in the house no matter who she's up against. So, I mean, I feel like that's good. But at this point, it doesn't really matter if you have one person vouching for you. I mean, if the whole house is voting you out. So she's a 3 for me right now. Hopefully gets higher. I don't know.
Had it not been so, okay, let me speak on this. There's quite a few things actually with Amy. I think the virtue of being on the feeds more than Adrian means that your score has fluctuated a lot for me in the last day, because there was a moment where Amy was very clearly the safest of 3 options, no matter who are the final 2 on the block. If Amy's there with Kelley goes. If Amy's there with Zay goes. Now it's looking a lot more tough. I was feeling low on her, but then like I've seen her patch a couple things up. Like I think her and Jimmy seem to be better. Now I don't know, Jimmy's a bit of a faker, so maybe that was all fake. So we'll find out later. But I think having Rachel Rylie as your number 1 that's going to bat for you is a huge asset to have. Without Amy there, I would probably look at 3, maybe even a 2 if I feel a lot more like she's likely to go home. But with Rachel as in her corner, I'm feeling a lot higher on her, but I'm conflicted because coming into this, I was thinking 4. But just the simple fact that she's moved up on the target list, I don't love that. And also hearing that, some people are talking about Rachel a little bit. I don't love that either. Had those two things not happened, I would have been very firm in my 4. But my instincts is telling me 3, but I just do not think she's a 3 player currently. You know what? Variety's the spice of life. Let's be it a little different. I'll put a 4 for her, but I'll be honest, it's very much like a 3.5. That could be a 3.49 or a 3.51.
I was debating between 3 or 4 too, so
Yeah.
that tracks.
Well, the audience also seemed to be debating between 3 and 4, but they did go, in fact, with a 3 for Amy. I'm going to agree with the audience. I would have been inclined to go 4.
Oh, but not me, apparently. You're just agreeing with the audience, but you're not agreeing with me.
You said you were like in between a 3 and a 4. The audience, despite what I said, was a little more heavily leaning toward 3, I think, than you seem to imply you were.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
So if you were like a 3.4, the audience was like a 3.35. So I definitely am more along the lines with the audience on this one. Amy, I would have been much more inclined to go with a 4. I would say, really like before the nomination or the veto ceremony, I should say. There is a decision we will certainly be talking about, especially when we come to Rachel, where Rachel did push to prevent Keanu from going up on the block. If Keanu had gone up on the block, I would have felt a lot better about Rachel's position. About Amy's position and Rachel's position, quite frankly. And so the fact that it is now Kelley on the block and Vince really wants to keep Kelley and Zach and a lot of other bros really want to keep Zay, leaves Rachel as Amy's sole defender in that power structure. And that is turning her into an enemy of theirs already. And that means that Rachel is really going to have to pull a lot of strings in order to keep Amy around. And that is going to be kind of difficult. I do think that there's a very good chance that they manage to swing the vote onto Kelley. But it's going to be a tough one. I really think it will be, at least based on where things stand right now. And so I think she's just too likely to actually leave to go much higher than a 3 for me. But let's talk about the previous nominee and target, the shower woman herself, Ashley. Pooya, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I was very nervous for Ashley coming off of the episodes. It wasn't looking good at all. And honestly, a little bit results oriented where I'm about to head. Had she not won this veto, this score would be terribly low because she would have basically been the nominee most likely to, she would have been the target. But obviously, if I think Zay was second, so if Zay had pulled himself off, maybe that's a whole other scenario we'd be playing out. But I think Ashley is somebody who has, from what I've seen in the last 24 hours, had a huge come up. I think she's bouncing back. I think there's people she's working with. The only thing that's going against her right now is the fact that she's already been on the block once, and some of these people are talking about just throwing her back up there because she's already tasted the block. So it's an easy out to do when you have to put up 3 nominees. So for a very different reason, I feel I don't think I'd give her a 6. I don't think that, I just don't. And part of this has to do with the fact that I still also feel like Ashley's one of the ones that I've not seen enough of. I think I'm going to give her a 5 because I do think there's a lot of runway for her to go up from here.
All right. Well, the audience is also a bit lower on Ashley than you. The audience gave Ashley a 4. And I will say I'm again inclined to agree with the audience on this one. Despite not being able to see it on the feeds, will have to go as much as possible by what we saw in the edit. While I do not falter for trying to speak to the HOH, I do falter for taking a very long shower, potentially, and a potential mishandling of the drama fallout afterward. In addition to that, despite winning the veto, she is, as you mentioned, still being talked of as a target. And The bad thing about that, or target, or at least a pawn. And the bad thing about that is that if Amy does leave this week, that does put her in a much weaker position along with Rachel and the rest of her allies. If Amy stays, I think that Ashley's position improves. But if Amy goes, Ashley's position similarly falls. And so a 4 from me seems a bit appropriate. That said, I do agree with you in the sense that I do think that from what I've seen on the feeds, she's a perfectly fine and capable player. I haven't seen her make any kind of serious mistakes in the way that we saw her make in the episodes. And I think she's perfectly capable of doing well in the game if she ever manages to find some serious footing.
Yeah, I'm going to give her a 4 as well because, like you guys both said, I mean, yes, she was in a bad spot. She won the veto, which is great. So I feel it's like she started off poor and she did win the veto, which does bump her up. But I do feel like people are still going to be thinking about that. There's still going to be that sort of easy out of let's put her up. She had all those issues in the beginning. Remember that. And also, like Taran said, the way that she dealt with the situation, it just felt like she didn't have that much self-awareness. And it made me very nervous about how she might deal with this type of thing in the future. And it's possible that all of this is just an edit because we didn't have the feeds at this point. So like, maybe it's just they're making us feel this way. But if she handles conflict or confrontation like in this sort of way, I am concerned about her moving forward. So hopefully, I mean, she does seem to have a few people who she's like sort of talking with and working with. It seemed like Mickey maybe had her back. And I feel like she could find her spot in the house and maybe all this will be forgotten. But we're still in the first week, so anything can happen.
Yeah, I feel like the one last thing I'll say about her is that I feel like the episode we saw last night was awful for her. Obviously, and I'm not even talking about the shower. I'm talking about the very clear rampant paranoia she had and like that causing her to like come into the HOH room a bunch of times. She's a different person on feeds. Now, obviously, if I also won safety for the week, I'd be breathing a sigh of relief and being in my most relaxed state. But week 1 is known to be a very stressful time in the house. Her realizing that the walls are closing in on her because everyone's looking at her or throwing her name out couldn't have been an easy thing to stomach. So I do think there's hope for her yet to go further, to go higher. But I also understand the 4 ratings.
All right. Well, let's talk then about Ava, another person I would say that we have not seen much of. And the audience is a bit perplexed for what to do. They gave her a 5, similar to their rating for Adrian. Now, I will say I am considering going slightly higher for Ava. I think I will refrain from doing so because I don't have enough actual concrete evidence that I should go higher. The reason I'd consider it is because every time I've heard anybody speak Ava's name, it is accompanied with, I love her. Yes. And that's great. The problem is I haven't heard enough from her herself to know that she's actually even like playing the game and is anything more than just a likable person in the house. So if I were to discover that she is somebody who's like really in it with some strategy and in the mix of things and making alliances and being in alliances and all of that stuff, then I think this could easily convert to a higher number. But as of right now, I just haven't seen enough from her quite yet. So I will agree with 5 here for now.
Yeah, same on my end. I just haven't seen enough. From what I've seen, it seems good, but it's more, what I've seen is more just personal stuff and like bonding, things like that. And so from that perspective, she's doing well. But yeah, I just haven't seen enough. So I wouldn't feel comfortable giving her anything else.
Reminds me a little bit of like an early game Rubina, where a lot of people were speaking highly of her, like they really liked her, but we weren't sure yet if she was like going to actively play the game. And I'm hopeful for Ava, but yeah, I'm not quite sure yet.
Yeah, again, Ava's somebody who had safety this week and seems to have used that safety for good by not really being negatively perceived by anybody, being loved by everybody, but also somebody who, despite me having watched practically most of the feeds since they've been on, couldn't tell you who is she working the closest with or anything like that. Have none of that information out there. It is funny because I feel like I've been one rating up on all of you. So I kind of wanted, you know what? I'm just gonna give her the 6. Why not? Let's mess around. It doesn't impact anything. And also, I do think that I will say of the 4 we've rated so far, Ava's one where you're getting on the ground floor at a 5 could be huge if by next week she's in a group of like 4 people who are secure and is also safe or something like that. So yeah.
Well, there it is. We have
Another 5.
Another 5 on the board. All right, let's move on then to Will. And for fear of being a little repetitive, you know, I think there's promise in Will. The thing about Will is that I've seen him be more active than Ava and Adrian in terms of like talking game with Mickey, talking game with Keanu. However, I've heard less positive things about him than somebody like Ava. In particular, Rachel, Amy, and Ashley talked about him as somebody trying to play the middle, who was not somebody who was going to like be playing the game very aggressively. And they kind of seemed to be saying it in a somewhat negative way. So I would say ultimately that does average back out to a 5 for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm vacillating between a 5 and a 6, same as with Ava, because I do hear a lot of good things about him. But yeah, I just don't know enough. And this is kind of like we said, this was going to be the theme of this Stockwatch, because we've only had 24 hours and just 2 episodes. It's very hard to know how these people are playing, who they're aligned with, what their deal is. So yeah, at this point, I'm going to give Will a 5. But on that note, just saying that I do think that he has some potential there. It does seem like he's doing pretty well, and he's kind of hanging in the background, and no one really has anything bad to say about him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good place to be for a lot of these players in the game where like they're not super active. Typically
Right.
in this spot, I would be giving them slightly lower standings, just based on the fact that they're not included in the power structure, but they have some things going for them, particularly that the power structure is very cracked.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Captain Will has been one of the cooler heads in the house. Someone who I feel like anytime I've seen anyone talk with him, they're grounded. And I think that's a great spot to be in. I could see the invitation start to pour in for him as far as getting recruited into one of these groups or even creating that group of his own that he's been looking to do, but also not heard a lot from him personally. Like I think he's more active right now that I'm looking at this other monitor. He's like talking to Kelley, but I've not seen enough. So I feel like for me, that also leans to a 5. Sorry for all the 5s, but it is day 1 of the feeds. So we're all on the
inevitability of choosing to do this podcast on the Monday after the feeds start is that we were likely going to get a lot of 5s. The audience does, in fact, agree as well with the 5. So there it is.
Wow, another 5.
There's going to be quite a few people that are going to get 5s, but then there's going to be people that are going to get like lower high because of the exposure they got on the feeds for that one day. So we haven't gotten there yet.
Well, let's move on then to Zay, who is on the block and definitely could be in some danger. Melissa, let's start with you. What do you think about Zay?
This one's tricky because I feel like I don't think that he himself has done really much wrong. But I do feel like he might end up going home. And I think it's not because of something that he in particular did. I think it would be because, well, he's a strong guy. Why would we not take this opportunity to get him out? He's also, there's a lot of talk with the girls saying, we should get out a guy, we should get out a guy. So I do feel like it might just be, he just so happens to be there and it's the end of the week and we have this opportunity. Why would we not take it? But I don't feel like he's actively doing anything wrong, but I don't feel like he's really doing much right either. I mean, I've seen some of his conversations. I saw in particular a conversation between him and Ashley, and it just felt like they weren't hearing each other. It
Was
felt
this the
like
one where she was whispering and he was yelling back to her?
it was like literally
Yeah.
they both just kept going like, I agree, I agree, I agree. But it was like they were not saying the same thing, like at all. Like they were kept saying like, yeah, but it was not. I was like, they're totally talking about different things right now. So I do feel like he's not doing that great, but it does seem to me like there's not a lot of talk about getting him out. I feel like there's more talk about getting Amy or Kelley out than there is about getting Zay out, which is kind of surprising to me.
Well,
Yeah, go
how
ahead.
about this counter? Do you think there's a world, Melissa, where we're not hearing a lot of them looking to get Zay because they're all so convinced that Zay's going to win the blockbuster, so they don't want to put that out there?
I mean,
because then
that's
he could
totally possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think now that Kelley has been renommed, I think now tomorrow, Wednesday is when you're going to start hearing a little bit more of all the scenarios. But to your point, yeah, I mean, we have to go off what we've heard, and that we've not heard a lot of let's have Zay go. I think the biggest advocate for that is Morgan, who did bring up this man taught chess to everybody, so let's not have him be here.
Yeah, he knows chess. We can't have that. Yeah, so I guess I would give him a 4, mainly because I think he's in a bad spot, but I don't really believe that he himself has done something to put him there.
This is okay. Yeah. All right. I feel like the audience is going to be on your side with the 4. I have historically from the beginning been lower on Zay, and that opinion hasn't really changed. Amy has Rachel as her locked in number 1 ride or die. I'm going to put in work to try and keep my girl Amy. Mm-hmm. Who is that person to Zay? If you can tell me Zay has a counterpart to that, I will give a 4 right here, right now. Otherwise, I think I'm going to end up with a 3 here. 3 it is.
I was like, I don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, you are right that the audience did agree with Melissa. They gave Zay a 4. My thing with Zay is that I mentioned this on my stream that I think he has that golden retriever energy that makes him very appealing to be used as an ally, as an asset in the game. And that is part of why the bros in the house are like really adamant about keeping him around. Obviously, historically, even with the shift in challenges in competitions in the last year, Zay should have an advantage in the blockbuster competition as well. I would say that right now, of the 3 nominees, he is the most likely person to survive the block. And I would say once he does survive the block, certainly could be used as a pawn again, but not super likely to be targeted. There are plenty of bigger targets in the house other than Zay. So I do agree with the audience and Melissa on this one. And I did go with the 4. All right. So let's then move on and talk about Jimmy. Pooya, how you feeling about Jimmy?
I am dreading being called upon first here, Taran, because I don't know. Here's the thing. If you allow it, let me speak all my thoughts into the air and then hear y'all speak, and maybe I'll get to my number, because I truly am undetermined right now. Jimmy has been an extremely polarizing player. I think within the last 24 hours, he has shown that he can be petty, that he can be unpredictable, that he can be hilarious, but then also he can be calculated and smart, and he thinks through a lot of scenarios. He has a great way of subtly trying to push his agenda to the HOH, but he also has a great way of squashing the beef that he had within a matter of seconds, but then he can also yell at them for no reason. He can also confront them for no reason. I'm very confused. I feel like I'm seeing a player who has all the tools available to them to be an amazing player, but might get in their own way for the sake of entertainment, which is shocking, because then I'm like, well, I can't give you a 7 because there's no way that warrants it. I don't even feel comfortable giving you a 6, but then are you a 5? Are you a 5 like these other people? I don't think so, because I'm seeing a lot more potential from you, but also you could be targeted for this nonsense and get a 2 next week. So then do I give you a 4? Now, do you see why I was a little bit hoping I wasn't the first one called upon? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tough one, especially because, like, I think, honestly, the rating I gravitate towards the most is a 5, but not for the same reasons at all that I've given the other
100%.
5s. And so that's part of what, like, frustrates me about the rating, which honestly tempts me to go to a 6 just to reward him for at least playing the game in week 1. But there are just so many people that are looking hard at Jimmy,
Right.
and that is concerning. If maybe like that damage control that he had done with Amy had actually worked and she hadn't walked away being like, screw that guy, I just faked him out, like maybe that would have helped. I was genuinely impressed that that he managed to talk Keanu down after the events of the previous night. So I got to give him some credit for that.
Yeah.
And he did help create this very solid structure around him that has put him in a very good position. The problem is he also has kind of talked his way out of it with the way that he interacts with his alliance members. Man, yeah, I think that giving him a 6 puts me in a bad space for other players.
What do you mean? Okay, so this is I want to advocate for a 6 who's listening to you speak.
Okay.
He is supposed to be a volatile stock. You're supposed to be like, because if he stays a 6 next week, you're making that quick profit more than some of these other players maybe who might stay the same, right? If someone stays a 5, nothing happens. If you get a 6, there's a little bump up. You should be very much a gamble with Jimmy, because it could go, you could be getting a 7 next week, or it's going to drop down to a 3 and you're going to regret doing that. So that's why I'm like low-key thinking I might go a 6, but I've also not had the foresight of looking at the rest of the house guests to see if that's going to mess up my other numbers.
I mean, I think you guys are both spot on. I think I'm going to, maybe I'll just give my number and then we'll just go from there, because then at least we have something on the board. I'm going to give him a 6, because I do agree with Pooya that it's like right now, right at this moment, like he's doing well, sort of. As far right at this moment, snapshot from what we've seen, like it goes up and down and up and down. And I agree with Pooya, it's like a volatile stock. Like that's kind of the point. Like he could literally, right after this podcast ends, drop down to a 2. We don't know, because he's just so out there, and so he's always doing something. There's always some drama, some incident, some excitement with him. And I feel like I wanted to give him a 5 because I was like, well, he was doing really good at one point, and like he has people working with him, and he seems to have like his hands in all the cookie jars. But then, he created this drama. He called Keanu out or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, well, then I'll just like average it out and give him a 5. But I do think that like there is something to the idea of like, of just going for it and giving him like one or the other, like a 6 or a 4, instead of just giving him a 5, because I feel like it's like, we do know what he's about, but we just don't know whether that's going to end up being good or bad at from one moment to the next. So for me, I'm giving him a 6 because it does seem like he was able, like Pooya said, to squash the beef like immediately. And it doesn't seem like anyone right at this minute is like, I don't like Jimmy or whatever, has issues with him. And it does seem like he does have people actively working with him, wanting to work with him. I don't think this will last. I really think that this is one of those things where like he's going to, go out in a blaze of glory or something. I don't know, but it does not seem like this is a winning strategy, but you never know. So I do think it's more fun to give him a 6.
I think ultimately with Jimmy, I think he's going to be his own worst enemy here. But also in my head, I'm kind of thinking about like, after what he's displayed the last 24 hours, if you win HOH and you can put any 3 people up, do you really want to put Jimmy and have him be the one coming after you? I don't know. I mean, he's going to be very loud and very much in your face about it. Do you want that smoke? Because I can imagine you're already stressed enough as, you know what, Taran, let's make it easier for you. I'm going to also go with 6. I don't know what the audience did, but if they did 5, you do 5, you kind of are like, well, I didn't do this. It ain't on me.
The audience did do 5, but I've been convinced. I think a 6 makes some sense here.
Nice.
I think that like, I mean, the thing is, I say it all the time too. I'll take an active, messy player over a passive, cleaner player in week 1 most times. That like Jimmy is the kind of player who, even if a shot does get taken at him the next week, he's got plenty of outs. There are plenty of other targets out there that could take the hit for him. He could win something. He could save himself, whatever. And he's the kind of player where if he survives a shot being taken at him, and people perceive him to have been like humbled or weakened in any way, I could just see him sticking around for a while, regaining some position. Like he's just, because he plays so hard, he's never going to be somebody that you can count out. And so I think that's a good thing generally. So I'll give him the 6 here. I do want to mention that on the feeds right now, obviously I'm not able to listen to it, but from what I'm reading and seeing, Rachel is finally having her conversation with Keanu and informing him that he very nearly went up on the block via Vince, and she had to talk Vince down to prevent that from happening. I do not know if Keanu believes her, but you know, interesting stuff. I mean, we imagined that this was a very likely outcome of what would happen given all of the waffling.
I haven't yet decided if that's a bad thing or good thing that Rachel is doing, because if Keanu starts running his mouth, I can't imagine that's good for Amy, and then in result good for Rachel if he does the most with it.
Yeah. Well, it's a 6 for Jimmy. Let's move on to Katherine, who unfortunately is another player, I would say, who hasn't really been on the feeds all that much. The audience did, in fact, give her a 5. And as much as I'd like to do something different here, she is somewhat involved in some conversations, but not in any meaningful enough way quite yet. I think I could justify giving her a 6, I think, just based on her level of activity and the positioning she has and the likability she seems to have. But I don't think I can justify it because none of what I'm thinking might happen for her has happened for her yet. So I just haven't seen enough. I've given everyone else a 5, having not seen enough. I'm going to do the same for Katherine.
I'm going to give Katherine a 6 because I did really like the conversations that she was having with people. The personal conversations I felt went really well, and as well as the strategic conversations. I feel like she's not pushing too much. She's not too out there. But the conversations that I saw with her, it seemed like she knew what was going on, or like had a good game head on her shoulders. And so I feel rather confident that she could do something good in the future, or like that she could sense what's going on around her and really play things correctly. Hopefully, I mean, who knows? But like with Ava and Will and Adrian, like I actually really haven't seen like any conversations with them. The only conversation I saw with like Ava was like, you know, just general like chatting, but then also the Keanu conversation where he was telling her all this stuff and she was just like, wow, oh my God. So I didn't really get a good feel for what Ava can do versus Katherine. I did see some game conversations, multiple game conversations. So I like what I saw from her. So yeah, I'm going to give her a 6. I'm just going to go out there and do it.
In a world where Jimmy for me was like a 7 that got -1 into a 6, I feel like Katherine's a 5 that got +1 into a 6 for me. Similar to what I said about Ava getting a 6 from me, is that someone who's not being talked about negatively, good. Being considered for plans, also good. And just the little bits and pieces I've seen, I think she's a great listener and a good conversation. I feel like you go to her, you talk, and it seems like everyone's leaving those conversations in a good spot, feeling good about her. So I like that. I think there's a lot of potential here also. So there was a world I could have given a 5 to let people benefit from the getting in on the ground floor with Katherine, but no, you got to pay the premium here. So yeah.
All right. So a 6 for Katherine. Let's move on then to Keanu.
Oh no.
Keanu. He really just came so close to to becoming the first boot today.
Mhm.
Like he came real close, and it was, I would say, a good 99% his own doing. Like, he did not need to be doing really any of what he was doing. His read on the house is abysmal. He thinks that Rachel, Amy, Ashley, Jimmy, and Morgan are all working together to against him, when almost that exact group of people, who are not all in concert, basically minus Jimmy, are all the people who worked hard to keep him off the block that day. Rachel and Morgan in particular were the only two people to actively say, no, Vince, don't do this. He did not believe it. He is now perhaps being informed of it. But I've got to say, without being able to listen to this conversation, Keanu's face to me does not read grateful for the information he's getting from Rachel. That could mean just that he doesn't like the information because it's not good for him, or it could mean that he is skeptical of it, which is honestly what I'm a little worried that he might be. But I'm not listening to the conversation, and I'm not going to let that impact my rating. Just in general, Keanu has been an absolute mess. And I would say, unfortunately, seems to lack a lot of self-awareness when it comes to like the people he's talking to. He just doesn't seem to understand, like he doesn't seem to be able to read other people like almost at all. And it leads to these very awkward long conversations where the person doesn't really want anything to do with him, or he's clearly being placated or lied to, and he doesn't realize it. He's constantly talking about this 10-person alliance he wants to put together called the Outcasts, where it's going to be all of the people who aren't in the group that he made up in his head that doesn't actually exist. And it's just a bit of a mess. And I mean, I think that of the people we've talked about so far, he has easily played the worst. He is not in danger of going home this week, but only by the skin of his teeth. So I think I have to give him a 3. Oh.
Okay. I was going to say, if you want new information, he basically just told Rachel, I don't think anyone's in any alliances right now. No one's trying to be in an alliance with me. There's 2 barks for a 2 also. There we go.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say a 3 as well because I was like, but I do feel like it's a 2. He's just doing so much. He's constantly talking to everybody. Any screen I was going to, any camera I flipped to, it was like him saying the same thing to somebody else. And it was just like, there's just too much. He's just doing too much, and he's not really doing it well. And people are kind of getting annoyed, and he talks a lot like to people. He's not really like having a conversation. It's like, okay, here's my pitch. Like, here's what's going on. This is the alliance. It's this person. And everyone's just like, whoa, what's going on here? Yeah, he's doing too much. And I think also like it doesn't help him that he's also he looks like a threat. So it's not just like, okay, he's doing too much, but like we don't really have to worry about him because he's just he's not going to win competitions. Like he'll win competitions too, and he's like doing too much. So it's like people have excuses to get rid of him. Yeah, I just feel like he's just doing way too much. Yeah, it's a 2.
When the draft happened, I was very upset with Melissa for putting me last. I was like, I can't get Morgan. I can't even get my backups. Melissa, I thank you, because if I was ahead of Rob, I would have ended up with Keanu as my first pick, and I think I would have been on a tailspin right now.
Who has
last night? Rob.
Is it Rob? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Rob has Keanu, Katherine, and Rachel. Right before feeds came on, I was like, Rob's going to demolish us, but now we'll see. Okay.
Not quite.
So when the feeds first came on, and we had this moment where Keanu's passionately talking about DMing Dungeons and Dragons, and he's explaining it by the pool to everybody. And I was like, he's passionate. Look at him talking about a thing he's passionate about. Then he kept talking. I was like, okay, I think everyone's getting, leaving the combo a little bit. Rachel's not looking like she's loving it. Whatever, that's fine. Maybe it's just him talking about his passion. Then he kept going. And he goes on like this about any topic. Passion does not matter. He can talk for miles, and it's usually not in a good way. The amount of times, the whole montage of Ashley going into the HOH room a bunch, that's been Keanu. Keanu will walk into every conversation. You'll forget that he's been around for 2 seconds, and then he pulls up once again. There was a moment today when so Rylie and Vince were in the HOH room. Mm-hmm. Then Katherine came in. The three of them were talking. Keanu walks in, and Vince's like, "Can I get a minute here with Katherine?" And he's like, "With Rylie in here?" And Riley's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, with Rylie in here, you want him? He can say, but I can't." And it was the most awkward thing I have seen. I am actively nervous about anybody that's trying to buddy up with Keanu here. I do not think Keanu's someone you can lean on right now at all. Even if he's your closest ally, that's almost a detriment to you right now. So I low-key thought my 2 was going to be, I was going to be the Simon Cowell of the rating with the 2 here on him. But y'all also went 2s. I'm going to give him a 2. There ain't no way I'm giving someone who's not on the block a 1 here, because he could mess around and win a comp, I guess. Like, that's a redeeming factor. But also, no, I think what has happened, the sad reality, though, I'm going to give him a 2. Sad reality, though, is that I think there's a lot of worlds where he could just be put on the block next week. So we'll see.
Well, the audience did give him a 3. But what I will tell you is that it is considerably lower than the score Amy got. It was
wow.
Amy got a 3.35. Keanu got a 2.77.
So okay.
Yeah. So he's really benefiting from the rounding up and down there. So there it is, a 2 for Keanu, the lowest rated player of the Stockwatch so far from every rater, including the audience. All right, let's move on then to Kelley. What fresh takes she has on Big Brother strategy, Melissa?
Yeah, that's not... Oh, man. I just feel like at first when they turned the feeds on, I was like, oh, okay, like she's pretty good. She's in all these conversations. She's like, seems like she has people that she's working with. I honestly was going to be like, okay, yeah, I didn't see it in the preseason, but actually she's, really playing the game. Hi. Sorry, Callan wants to say hi. You want to say hi? Can he come say hi? But anyway, I do feel like here's Callan really quick. Just a quick hi. He says hi. Look at you. Yeah, what do you think? You like Big Brother? You like podcasts? Okay, you're pulling off my headphones. Mwah. Okay, anyway, he wants to be part of it. But yeah, so for Kelley, I just feel like anyone who volunteers, like, she was literally like, oh, well, I'll do it. I don't care. And she's like, that's fine. I won't be mad. I won't be mad. It's like, don't say that stuff. Don't. Even if you're trying to be like, oh, I'm easygoing, I'm easy breezy, and I just want you to know that I'm like a good ally to you. Like, don't give them an option. Don't give that to them. So for me, she's a 2 for me. I not a 1 yet because she hasn't, like, well, I don't know. Are we doing 1 for her?
I'm doing 1. If you want to jump on the 1 train here, Melissa, okay. I'm doing a 1 for sure.
All right, I'll do a 1 too. I'll just
right
woo! Yay, choo-choo. Because I'm literally just like thinking about it, and I'm like, well, usually I reserve the ones, like, I was thinking I'll keep her as a 2 because, she might not go home. Who knows? But she put herself there in the first place, and she's doing nothing to save herself. She literally, people are annoyed with her. They're not feeling good about her. People don't seem to want to work with her. And even though the girls are all like, well, we need to get a guy out, they're still like, well, we can get Kelley out. That's fine. We don't need her. So it's not good.
She's like collateral damage in so many situations where even if they don't want her to go, if she goes, they're like, okay, we move on. Life is fine. Her biggest advocate at this point is Vince. Keanu campaigning for her is only going to be poison. I don't even know if Keanu's going to be looking that way after the information Rachel has put out there for Keanu to take up. I just feel like she's someone whose personality clearly isn't gelling with the other house guests, because there's these moments where she'll like make a comment and they've taken it to be so offensive. Like,
yeah, like her jokes or whatever. They
yeah, like,
just
oh,
don't
you're
like
going
it.
for the long game play, huh? I see you. And it's like, whoa, what are you doing? That's heinous. Don't do that. It's like, okay, well, someone else could have gotten away with doing that. I just don't think that's good. I think the whole volunteering thing, I was so ready to be like, look at the edit trying to make it seem like that was a real thing when she didn't even go up. And then the feeds come on and she's going up. I still can't get over the fact that everyone in the house, like, you shouldn't do that for your, that's not good for you, Vince. Don't put her up. She knows he's going to put her up. And yet she ends up, like, even when she was trying to be like, don't put me up, it was very little. Like, remember, the one quote I had from today was, if you're feeling hesitant, people are talking about Keanu, you could maybe have him go up. That was it. There wasn't a lot of urgency there. So it's a 1, because even if she does stay for me, she's going right back up on that block until she leaves. Like, I just, unless she wins an HOH or maybe some fights happen, then she can slip through the cracks. But I think her game's bust already.
Yes. The audience gave Kelley a 2. They did not quite get down to the 1. It's pretty difficult to get down to the 1 for the audience. But yeah, I mean, this couldn't be anything other than a 1. She put herself on the block in the very first week and is, one of the most likely people to go home this week on her closest allies HOH reign due to her own decisions. What could possibly be worse? Maybe being the one who chooses to do it as the HOH. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Let's move on then to Lauren. Let's talk a bit about Lauren. Pooya, how do you feel about Lauren?
I'm high on Lauren. I've not seen a lot of Lauren on the feeds quite yet, similar to some of the other cases we've had. But there's a couple of points that I want to bring up, and I can't decide if they're good or bad. And I'll explain in a second. I think Lauren is shows a lot of potential. I think she knows the game on the slide, which is great. She, the episodes did show us she was like the best detective, and realizing, I think it's a woman, but I don't know who it could be. So I thought like that was good instincts right there. I think she is young, and they know she's young. But last night, there was a lot of people are shipping her and Zach quite heavy. She doesn't want to really talk about that. Now, my worry for her is, despite her having the knowledge, being a good game player, my worry is she gets put in a box of being a showman's person and discounted. But I don't think she's going anywhere. I think she's got longevity. I think she's got potential. And in a world where she's in a showman's with Zach, which there's no basis for that happening outside of maybe some flirtation or something. I think she could be in a good spot. So I know I said I'm going to say my points. They could be good or bad. I'm high on her. So I think but I don't think I'm high on her as in she's number 1 in the house at the moment to give her a 7. I think I'm just going to soft go with 6 here, but very easily this could have been a 7 if I saw more of her in the last 24 hours.
The audience does agree. They gave Lauren a 6 as well. My issue is that I still also feel like I haven't seen that much of her. I have an image of Lauren in my head that is very favorable. And this is the Lauren from the episode. This is the Lauren who everyone is talking about as though she is this delicate little lamb that could never harm a fly and would never tell a lie. And I love the idea of her kind of playing that up and not really being her, and that she's actually going to be slitting some throats and playing the game hard. And I love this. I love this Lauren, but that's like me being Zach, but like strategically oriented. That's like Zach being like, she's perfect. He's like made up a version of Lauren in his head. I'm doing the same thing, but for her as a player. And so I think ultimately, if I'm being realistic and sticking to what is actually in front of my eyes, I have to go with a 5, with the hope that it improves from here, because I have hopes for Lauren moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, although I'm going to give Lauren a 6 because the conversation I did see with Lauren was very good. And I feel like it did give me some faith that she is that type of strategic person, the good head on her shoulders, etc. Like, That's what I'm seeing. And also the fact that Zach liking her, like that could go either way. It could be like a beast mode cowboy situation where it hurts her game, or it could be like, okay, yeah, great, Rachel and Brendan situation where he'll like sacrifice his game for her or whatever. Like, so it really could go either way. At this point, like I'm inclined to say a 6 because I was impressed with what I saw, but who knows?
All right, then let's move on to Mickey, who did receive a 6 from the audience. I feel good about Mickey. Mickey is a player who I've seen just enough of so far to enjoy what she's doing, to be appreciative of the way that she's approaching the game. She is just connected enough to be considered a power player, I would say. She's not part of the Heavy Hitters Alliance, but that alliance is so broken that I do not think that particularly matters. On top of that, she does seem to be aware that alliance exists, which is another huge factor. She was taking steps to start building power structure outside of it. I think all of that is very good. I think that it wouldn't surprise me if Mickey comes away with one of the more lasting power structures out of this week if she continues to push in the directions she is. Her biggest threat at this point seems to be some of these bro-y guys, but she also seems to be relatively aware of that. I'm a little concerned that Mickey and by extension Morgan, I'm a little worried that they're too concerned about Jimmy, who actually I think is less of a threat than a player like Zach. But I still really like what they're doing, and if I'm going to give anyone a high rating, I think Mickey has to be one of those people, and I'm going to give her a 7, a very hopeful 7.
I agree. I want to give her a 7 as well. I feel like she has seemingly close relationships with a lot of people. I saw her having really good conversations with Jimmy, with Ashley. I mean, I feel like people seem to really connect with her. And the fact, like you said, that she knows that there's this Heavy Hitters Alliance, like that's huge. I mean, that's already really important. So I think that like she's able to kind of get a visual of like what's going on in the house and like where she needs to be. And so far, I mean, it doesn't seem like people are targeting her. And it seems like she kind of knows what's going on. So I've been impressed with her so far, and the conversations that she's been having are really good. So yeah, I would give her a 7.
She is somebody who, she's not in the heavy hitters. I think that's a great spot because that alliance, even though it's the biggest one available right now, it's doomed to fail from where I'm standing. I also think in the event that it does stick around or has some staying power, there is someone in there who's willing to go to bat for her in the form of Morgan. I think the only thing that concerns me for Mickey and Morgan is that people already see them as a duo, but they're a duo that are liked and duos that have made connections with other people in this house, which I do not think will get punished for being seen as a duo. I think they're going to be okay. Keeping it low-key week 1, but knowing where pieces are, I think is always a huge advantage. And you're no slouch yourself. You've got some other connections that you're working on as well that are brewing. I really thought I was coming in being special with the 7 here, but then now I'm the third person giving a 7. But listen, I think that, like I felt about Keanu, having Mickey on the team makes me feel really good about the person we'll talk about second to last later. So.
Yes. Someone in the chat earlier just said all the stocks I wanted are 6+, which means we've done something right.
Exactly. No freebies.
All right. Let's then move on to Morgan. Morgan is, I would say, obviously working closely with Mickey. Has a lot of the same motivations, has a lot of the same goals, but a little bit more exposed, I would say. At the same time, though, a bit more connected with the bros and with the people in power. So there are some pros and cons here. In particular, she's very close to Zach and Zach is the key to the bros. In fact, Zach just last night was talking to Vince about like, hey, what if it's just you, me, and Morgan? Weird that he would pull Morgan, considering she is actively trying to take out one of his allies, Zay. But I think that just speaks to the relationship that at the very least they currently have. I do think I do also appreciate how much she is trying to do this, how much she's sticking up for herself in this spot. It is a spot where a lot of other players might go, you know what? I'm going to just let the Alliance do what they want. I'm clearly outnumbered here. If they want to keep Zay, I'll let them keep Zay. It reminds me a bit actually of like Monty and Kyle in Post Pack back in the day when they were like, we're not just going to lie down and take this. We're going to, you know, really push hard. And if you fight back too hard, then that tells us where you stand. And I feel like that should be the lesson Morgan takes away from this. And I think it is. But I'm going to say again that I worry that the blind spot is Zach because of the relationship she has with him. So I would love to also give Morgan a 7, but the final piece for me that brings her down to a 6 is that she does not have the connections that Mickey does outside of that structure with some of the other women in the game right now and with some of the like outside players. And given that that seems to be the direction she either is or should be heading, that could be a bit of a problem if she doesn't start working on those relationships and stop hanging out with Zach all the time. So it's going to be a 6 for Morgan from me.
This one's tricky for me. I feel like it's like I'm torn between a 6 and a 7, honestly, because I feel like she's doing a little bit too much, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. Like, I don't think people are thinking that she's doing too much at this point, but I feel like she's doing a little too much. I feel like she's constantly like in the conversation, and not only just in the conversation, but she feels like she's constantly like talking and leading the conversation. It's like Keanu, Jimmy, and Morgan. I feel like they're constantly like da-da-da-da-da-da. And to me, I feel like you want to be involved in the conversation. Like, it did seem more like when I watched some particular conversations, it was like, for example, there was one with Jimmy, Morgan, and Zach. And it felt like Jimmy and Morgan were like, da, 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 and Zach was kind of like listening and maybe would add things here and there. And I feel like that's the position you want to be in. You want to be like listening to these conversations, part of the conversations, but not saying so much. Like, you don't want to be that person who's just talking and giving up the information and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like, let's come back to me. I'm vacillating.
Morgan coming into the season was my winner pick. After what we've seen, I'm not mad at it still. I think that the early worry of the gamer girl just saying she's a gamer girl has long left the station. But to the points being made, I do think she's a lot more active, or at least we've seen her be a lot more active. The list you gave, the top 3 of the most chatters, I wouldn't disagree with it necessarily, but I do think there is a subtlety still to her compared to Jimmy and Keanu. I think the thing that I really liked today was her and Keanu having this longer conversation about, you know, the Keanu going in a little bit too hard on her based on some of the conversation. They had the confrontation. And so seeing them have this civil conversation and then leave it being okay, and even to a point where she even defended Keanu a little bit, I like to see that. I feel like her energy is really good. She's the biggest advocate to get rid of Zay, maybe even more than Rachel. Rachel's more so like, I want Amy to stay. Morgan's like, nah, Zay gotta go. So that could come back to bite her. I did see her mention to Zach while we were talking that something along the lines of she's looking at Zay or Zay's going to target her. So we'll see what happens with that. I feel like for me, she's a very strong 6.48. Like, she could have been a 7, but I'm going 6 here. I think that's the safer spot to be here. This could be someone who's easily an 8 next week, though. So we'll see.
All right.
Okay.
The audience did agree. They gave Morgan a 6. Melissa?
All right, I'll go with a 6 with the hope that next week it's 7.
All right. Let's move on then again to Rachel. And I believe, Melissa, we're going to start with you again. How do you feel
Oh
about
man,
Rachel?
not this. Oh man. Well, I think Rachel is doing excellent work with her social game. Now, here's the thing. Apparently some conversation just happened on the feeds where she confronted Keanu about something and like we don't know how that went. We didn't watch that.
That was what I was talking about. She told Keanu that she was the one that stopped him from going up on the block.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I don't know if that conversation is good for her or bad for her. I like to like see how the like I get that like we hear what the information is, but like me seeing it and seeing how it's coming across is a bit different, because then I can see like, okay, this is how she'll handle confrontation in the future, but I don't know. So I do love the fact that she seems to be really connecting with people and getting to know people. I don't love the fact that she's like riding so hard for Amy at this point. Like, as much as it's, I like Amy and I'd like Amy to stay, it's kind of like, this is the first week. Like, it's fine. She can go. I don't know. I feel like it's like, if everyone else is trying to get Amy to go, or if you're saying like, well, there's no possible way I'll vote for anyone if Amy's on the block, that's not great. But I do feel like she's doing great work. She's sort of blending in. At the same time, she's not eligible to be evicted this week. So obviously she's kind of going to blend into the background because she's not an option. If they had the ability to nominate her, then maybe that would be more of the conversation. But right now it's like, well, we don't even have the ability to nominate her. And maybe that's the same for Ava and Will and Adrian. And wait, isn't Adrian not eligible either? Or he's eligible?
He is. Well, what do you mean?
Eligible to be.
He is eligible to be nominated.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was thinking like, we've got all these people that are 5s, and maybe it's because they're laying low because they're not eligible to be nominated and nobody is talking about them because they can't be nominated. But anyway, I feel like I think I'll give her a 7 because I have been very impressed with her social game. I think she's doing really excellent work in that respect. And it does seem like she's making good connections with people. I do think that we'll just have to see for the next week when she's eligible to be nominated, how people treat that. Is it an immediate like, okay, let's get her out, we have the opportunity? Or are people not really that interested in getting her out yet? I don't know. So it doesn't seem like she's going to be an immediate target, but I'm not really sure.
You would like for me to go next, Taran? Is this the
that is how the order generally goes? Yes,
that's the cue. Okay. Here's the thing. I'm seeing quite a few people talking about saying that there's too much push for Amy to stay, or that her, Amy, to a certain degree, Ashley are seen as a trio. I don't think these things are not necessarily negative. They very well could be, right? It's you can look at it both sides of the two sides of the coin. But to me, Amy and Ashley are, if they both stay, are two people that are always going to end up on the block before Rachel as of right now, because they've already been on the block and no one wants that returnee smoke yet that we've seen. So I think that's, not bad for her at the moment. I think on the other side of the coin, if Amy was to leave this week, people are going to see her as less of a threat. She has one less piece next to her, right? That's not bad. I think also if Amy does leave or Amy stays, I think everyone's like, well, she was your person. You two bonded over being mothers. We get that. I don't think there's a lot of like negative energy for her to do that. It's like, oh, we expected this. And this house really seems to be like, well, I appreciate you saying to my face that you're going to vote this person or keep this person in. I think that's also good. Now, I hadn't come in thinking I was going to give her a 7. Low key, I was thinking of giving her a 6. But I'm still weighing it out live off the dome right now, talking to you all, because I think that the social game, to Melissa's point, has been amazing. There's no drama here. We really thought feeds were going to come on and her and Jimmy have like a civil war. Her and Jimmy, feeds came on and they're just bonding. Like they're just having a conversation. It's chill. It's fine. The way and this is this might be the reason why I go to a 7. This is something that we're not going to see the payoff for, because this podcast has to end soon. We're not going to find out if Keanu spills the beans or not. But if Keanu keeps this internalized and then does vote out Zay, that's very good for her. I think that's a very good job. That's amazing. To control a Keanu is to do magic. I do not think this is a possible thing based on what I've seen after a day. So maybe all of this does make me go give her a 7. But if I'm being honest and vocal, it's a weaker 7 than Mickey's. So let me just preface it like that. And then let me go ahead and give her a 7 because she does have numbers behind her. And I still really, maybe naively, do not think she goes up. I think her numbers go up 9 times out of 10 over her. So, Kelley is going to bring up her name if she follows that scheme at the eviction. But also, no offense intended, it's Kelley, the person who got a 1 on our ratings because she has no sway in the house. I don't think that does anything. I really don't.
Well, the audience does agree with both of you. They gave Rachel a 7. I'm going to disagree with both of you on 2 points. One is the rating, which I'm going to give her a different rating. Number 2, I'm going to defend her from one of the points that was made, which was that I really do feel like she's doing exactly what she should be doing with Amy, which is just very clearly stating, no, I'm not going to vote out Amy. Why would I do that? I think that that just makes the most sense. I think that she should not be losing an ally of hers. I think that if she loses Amy as an ally this week, I think that spells doom for her in the future, which is why my rating is actually lower than a 7 this week. I think that if she fails to keep Amy, the other players will smell blood in the water. She will have shown weakness, and that veneer of like returning player status, that like bulletproof armor that many of them have, will go away, and they won't be afraid to put her on the block or target her. And that's a problem. All these returning player seasons where we see the returning player do super well, a huge part of that is this feeling of invincibility, this fear that it instills in other players to not go against them. And if Rachel is unable to hold her ground here, that's bad. She loses an ally. And there are a lot of people in this game that are side-eyeing her, even as they talk about liking her a lot. And so I am concerned for her if Amy leaves. If Amy stays and she swings this vote, then she's definitely in a very good place. And it is my uncertainty about where this vote goes right now that is keeping her from being a higher rating for me. So there we go. A 7 overall, though, for Rachel. I will say also, I think she's very clearly the most like capable and obviously experienced player in the game right now. That is not surprising by any means. But she is the player I would put the most amount of faith into to get through any given situation. So we'll put it in that way as well. All right, so let's move on to Rylie. Pooya, how are you feeling about Rylie?
I mean, personally, not great. No, here's the thing. I mean, he's also somebody who, funnily enough, we have seen more of Rylie than we have some of these other people that have gotten 5s. Not to say that I'm giving him a 5, just so we're clear, not sure. But there's one thing I've picked up on personally on Rylie that I do not like. Rylie sometimes will talk, like, because you know how some people will use cuss words for emphasis? I do it all the time when I'm, not on a podcast. Rylie will do that, but it sounds intense and not in a good way. And I just can't help but feel like if someone crosses this man, he's going to say things and it's going to be very negative and it's going to come off very angry. And this nice Rylie they're seeing goes away completely. But for now, all of that said, that's again my read. So it's not really factual on anything but my vibe on him. However, seems like everyone's fine with him. He's getting along with people. He's being introduced and he's being included in plans. If you had told me that Rylie was going to end up being in the biggest alliance in the that is the heavy hitters after being accused of being the accomplice, I did not think that whatsoever. I did not expect that whatsoever. But also, I still, and not trying to be rude, I still do not feel like this man's here to play Big Brother. I don't know what he's here to play, but I do not get the sense that he's in this for the game like that. He does have this mentality of, he's mentioned it a couple times where he's like, I don't give an F about anything. I'll back any decision as long as I'm not, once I'm put up on the block, then I'll act out. Otherwise, I'm just going to be me and just do what I'm doing. Not a bad philosophy to have in this game, especially when you're already in some groupings there. So it's weird. I try to be objective with these ratings. I almost want my personal bias to -1 him, like very vocally here. So I want to give him, he's a 5 to me. I kind of feel like I want to give him a 4. So I don't know what to do. Don't put it down yet. Don't put it down. Let me backpedal and jump on one of your ratings maybe. Let me see what y'all do. No, you know what? No, let me be firm. Give him a 4. Let me be firm. Why am I even doing it? Let me just.
All right.
Let's just lock it in. Yeah, let's just lock it in. Go with my gut.
4 from Pooya. The audience gave Rylie a 5.
More fair than me. That's fair.
And I think I'll agree with the audience on this one, just in the sense that I still don't feel like I understand him as a player. I'm concerned that he is just all over the place, which may be true. But at the very least, he seems to be doing well enough socially and weirdly in a power structure, even though he's not super active within it. I just don't see him being in any trouble anytime soon right now. And I just don't like, if I had faith in him as a player, his position I think would be good enough to give a 6 to, but I just don't know where his head is at all, and so it's more like a 5 for me.
Yeah, agreed. 5 for me as well, mainly because, he's doing fine. I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of him, but from what I've seen, like, it seems like people really like him. And he is in the power structure, but I haven't really seen enough to, determine whether he's lower or higher. So 5 for me.
Wow, another 5.
All right, then, let's move on to Vince. Let's talk about our HOH Vince, and we will lead off with the audience rating, which was a 3. A 3 from the audience for Vince. For me, I am going to give Vince. I'm gonna give him a 1. Get out of here, Vince. I'm done. No.
Tell us why.
Listen, I've been on record many times over the course of my time podcasting. I think that if you are the HOH and you use your HOH to take out an ally of yours at the behest of the house, I think that you are a fool, and I think that you will not win the game, because a player who has done that has never won the game. And here's the thing. This isn't even at the behest of the house.
Yeah, the house is begging you not to.
What are you doing? He keeps saying that if Kelley goes home, he will be made a fool of. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. No, sir. You are getting a 1 whether or not Kelley goes home, because you should not be putting yourself in that position. Mm-hmm. You should not be putting yourself in the position in the first week to say, I am either the biggest fool this show has ever seen, or I get through a week of HOH and like everyone else who has ever been HOH has in the entire history of the show. What are you doing? That's it. He's a 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No. I'm in agreement. He's a 1. I'm so disappointed. I feel like going into it, I really thought he was going to do well. It seemed like, and even when he won HOH, I wasn't like, oh no, this is bad. I was really thinking he had like a good head on his shoulders. He was going to do well at HOH. And I don't know where this came from. It just seems so ludicrous. I think like he's so obsessed with the idea that someone will be mad at him, that when Kelley offered him the opportunity to not have that person be mad at him, he was like, I'll take it, but wasn't really thinking straight when it came to the strategy. And I mean, I could sort of understand it if the entire house was saying like, you must put this person up, you must put this person up, like if you don't put this person up, you're going to be out next week. Even then I wouldn't do it. But I at least could understand the mindset of like, okay, well, the whole house is saying to do it, like, you have to. But that's not the case here. In fact, people were actively saying, don't put her up. So, yeah, it's not good. It's a 1.
Interesting stuff. Because I do think he did this poorly. I think this reign has been poor. But also, it all comes down to what the rest of the house thinks. I'm not seeing nearly enough people calling him a big dummy for the reign yet. But also, I think the other part of it is, and Taran, you already alluded to this earlier, where at this point in the game, we had not seen Frenchie was not being targeted. So there's a world where that could happen. I don't know. Maybe I'm wildin', but I have more faith in him than I do Frenchie to survive. I feel like he's got more connections that do not feel like, because the thing with Frenchie was he was like almost to a fault. Vince is wants to be way more passive, right? Vince was, again, if he got safety only, he would have been happy. He wanted safety that came with this, which let it be a lesson. With winning an HOH, you get safety and you get power. If you can't handle both, you shouldn't go for it, because you can only hurt your game by doing that. That 1 week of safety will do you no good. Now, that being said, he's a little too passive. And I don't think that's a bad thing here. Whereas with Frenchie was like, he had a stranglehold. He's like, no, we're doing this. We're calling it the butcher. No, it's not the butcher shop, the slaughterhouse. Like, he was like doing the most for no reason. I don't think Vince does that. So for me, I think, and let it be known, I'm not giving a high rating. He's not getting a 1, simply because I feel like this is somebody who could legitimately just get a 5 next week, like end up on a 5. And like, I'm not letting y'all get on the ground floor with a 1 purchase a week, go random nutso. I'm gonna stick with the audience. Let me be the voice of the people here a little bit. Let me give him a 3. He'll round up to a 2. That's still not a lot. And again, my faith is plummeted here with Vince. Imagine my feeling, 5th overall pick Vince is doing this. So I just think he has longevity in the game. I don't think he's winning at this stage. If he does, I'd be very surprised. He has to correct a lot of wrongs. But as far as perception in the house goes, he's not looked at as a total L yet.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It was just important for me to stand on business and make sure
I
it on
appreciate
record.
it. I respect it.
One.
Yeah, well, Chow was saying you've been talking about this guy for 24 hours. Now I need to go find out what you've been ranting about on stream.
Listen, that's the thing too, is that like, I think unless you've been down in the trenches, and Pooya, you have, to be fair, but like, to listen to this guy talk and have him justify these decisions by counting of his 14 votes, he thinks he can get maybe 7, and it would be devastating if he didn't get those 7, and then saying, yep, this is the move I want to make. It's just wild.
It's just bad.
All right, let's move on to our final player of the week. It's Zach. Now, I am going to give Zach a rating, and what I'm going to say is, I don't think he's the best strategic player of the cast. I don't think he's the second best strategic player of the cast. You could maybe argue he's the third, but I think that would be a stretch. What I will say is, I do think that Zach is currently the best positioned player on the cast. And that speaks to his position in the power structure, his position within the power structure, his position outside of the power structure, the fact that nobody's looking at him, the fact that he has a lot of influence in a lot of different areas, and very important, very key, he has a pocket veto that he can play at any time if he's ever in any trouble. Zach is definitely the best positioned person in the house right now, and for that reason, I am going to give him a 7.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, maybe even an 8, but purely because of the power that he has. I think I'll stick with a 7, but I will say, because I wasn't like super impressed with the work I was seeing him do. But he's so overpowered. It's kind of wild. Especially with like the fact that he is a comp threat, and there's multiple opportunities to pull yourself off the block right now with comps, and then he has that power. So I feel like he's very powerful right now. but I don't know if I feel like he's got the strategy to back it up at this point. I mean, we'll see, because it seems like he's having decent conversations with people. It seems like he's in a good position, and he's got these alliances and people want to work with him and things like that. But I could see a situation where people are like, okay, this guy he's an athlete, he's strong, he's in a good spot, like we need to get him. So he could be in danger coming up. But yeah, for right now, 7.
Yeah, I mean, in a world where, I would say in the house that he currently exists in, the fact that he seems to be a fairly competent player at worst puts him ahead of a lot of the pack. That combined with his position, I think, is part of why he is as high as he is for me right now.
It is very interesting because I do think there's a couple players there who we gave like baseline 5s because we didn't see that could outrank him, right? We just didn't get to see it. We don't know. That veto is doing a lot of lifting for him. I think having that in your back pocket just by default should make you a lot more relaxed, right? And give you a lot more opportunity to just like socialize, bond, and do all those things. But I'm not even going to discredit him there because I feel like he does have decent social game from what I've seen, for sure. And, you know, not trying to let my own feelings towards him seep in because that would be toxic. That actually sounds like I rate him a lot worse personally. I really don't. I really nothing, Zach. But not derogatorily. I don't know. I'm like talking myself into a hole here. I've also not slept enough, folks. Okay, allow me. But I guess 7 was a surprise to me. But what you two are saying makes sense. I am going to go ahead and give him a 6.
All right. The audience does agree with you, Pooya. They also gave Zach a 6, which will still leave him at a 7 overall. And that is the Stockwatch this week. Just to quickly give you a summary here, Adrian, Ava, Will, and Rylie all received an average of 5. Amy is at a 3. Ashley and Zay are at 4s. Then you have Jimmy, Katherine, Lauren, and Morgan at 6s. You have Mickey, Rachel, and Zach up at 7s. You have Vince at a 2 and Kelley at a 1. And that is those are the ratings for the week.
Nice.
I like it. We got a good mix. You know, in the beginning, it felt like we were just going to have straight 5s down the line, but we got variety here.
Yeah,
we did.
We did pretty well for only 24 hours of feeds, or less than that.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for the Stockwatch this week. Of course, you can head over to realitystockwatch.com to play along at home if you want to buy and sell shares of the stock. I doubt it will be ready immediately, so stay tuned. Also, fair warning, this season, the website is a little held up by Scotch tape and chewing gum. So we may or may not be able to finish out the season. Just be prepared for that. We are going to do our best as we try to put it together. You probably have noticed before that there have been plenty of glitches along the way. So we're doing our best. We hope to continue to make sure it works, but just please don't be too mad if it breaks.
Sorry.
Anyway, that is what we have for you. If somehow this is your first podcast of the season that you're listening to for Big Brother and you haven't heard, I wrote a book called Behind the Mirror that I just announced. It is now available for pre-order. You can order it now, get a signed copy from a local bookstore here in San Diego or anywhere else that you order books from. I'm very excited about it. Check it out, and I very much appreciate it if you do. Make sure you also head over to my YouTube or Twitch if you want to see me stream. I'm currently live as we speak, although if you're listening to this after the fact, I will likely have ended the 24-hour stream as there is not much left of it to go. And I also have a Patreon where I'm doing some Devil's Plan and Genius Game reactions over there, which are very fun. So check all of that stuff out. Melissa, you up to anything fun?
Just this, the Stockwatch, and then you can find me on all social media at It's Melissa with 3 A's.
3 of them.
Blue
how
Sky
about you, Pooya?
and Instagram, actually, not all social media anymore.
How about you, Pooya?
Look up at Pooyaism on as many of them and see if I'm there. If I'm there, pull up. But then other than that, check me out on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Pooya. We had a fun time last week. We made a bingo card for the premiere. We will be making bingo card for the feeds and this live eviction on Thursday. I'm planning on going live prior to the show, so come check me out there. Also, check out the lounge with me and Liana. We have a fun time there. She got to meet the cast for the first time on that pod, so make sure you check that out. And otherwise, I'm also talking 90 Day Fiancé, so find that if you're into those types of shows. Chaos.
All right. Well, thank you all once again for joining us here on the Roundtable podcast. If you are here live, come hang out for the final stretch of the 24-hour stream over on Twitch as we round that out for the first day of feeds here on Big Brother 27. And otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see all of you next time.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.